What if I told you the impossible happened? What if I told you a team staring down a 5-run deficit, dug deep, unleashed a hidden power, and pulled off a comeback for the ages? That's exactly what unfolded last night, and trust me, you won't want to miss a single heart-pounding detail. Welcome to Baseball Extra, where we dive into the most unforgettable moments in baseball. Get ready, because this is the kind of game that defines a season, the kind of game that reminds us why we love this sport. And speaking of defining moments, we are also going to explore some crucial MLB playoff race implications and dive deep into individual player performances that are shaping the league. Good evening, Baseball Extra fans. Last night, we witnessed a baseball spectacle that will be talked about for years. The New York Mets, battling fiercely for a coveted playoff spot, locked horns with the formidable Chicago Cubs in a game that had everything: drama, towering home runs, clutch pitching, and a comeback that defied all expectations. The stakes couldn't have been higher. The Mets, along with Cincinnati and Arizona, are embroiled in an absolute dogfight for that crucial wild-card berth. Every pitch, every at-bat, every defensive play carries immense weight in this intense MLB playoff race. Our story tonight begins with an atmosphere thick with tension at Wrigley Field. The first few innings painted a grim picture for our beloved Mets. Their young phantom, Jonah Tong, was on the mound, making what was arguably his biggest start in a very young career. Tong burst onto the scene with a spectacular debut, but his subsequent outings had been a bit rocky. He'd bounced back strongly against San Diego, showing flashes of his incredible potential. But this Cubs lineup presented a whole new challenge. In the bottom of the first, Michael Busch, a man who consistently finds the gaps and already boasts 22 doubles, led off with a scorching shot to the left center, easily pulling into second. Suddenly, the Cubs had a runner in scoring position with nobody out. The pressure was palpable. Then came Nico Horner, known for his relentless plate appearances and battling for a batting title this season. Tong struggled, eventually walking Horner after a close call. Now, the Cubs had runners on first and second with nobody out. Remember, Tong hadn't walked a single batter in his last start. This was an uncharacteristic hiccup, but then a glimmer of hope. Tong dug deep, unleashing a nasty changeup that caught the powerful Ian Happ swinging for a huge strikeout. One out, but the threat remained. Up stepped Moises Ballesteros, another relatively inexperienced player, similar to Tong. He delivered a hard-hit grounder right back up the middle into center field. Taylor, our center fielder, came up throwing a bullet to home plate. The Cubs scored, taking a 1-0 lead, but the play at the plate was incredibly close. The Mets immediately challenged. After a tense review, the call was overturned. The runner was out. What a welcome back for Tyrone Taylor, who had just returned to the lineup. His immediate, pinpoint throw saved a crucial run. Tong, with another assist from his defense, then induced a bouncing ball to third, picked up by Vientos, who touched the bag for the force out. Crisis averted. Tong got out of a rocky first inning unscathed, largely thanks to Taylor's heroics and his own ability to settle down after a shaky start. However, the calm wouldn't last. The third inning became a nightmare for the Mets. After retiring 4 in a row, Tong found himself in trouble again. Matt Shaw got a shallow right field base hit. Then Michael Busch walked, putting runners on first and second with nobody out. Deja vu from the first inning, but this time, the Cubs were relentless. Ian Happ scorched a fair ball down the first base line, past Alonso, scoring 2 runs. Shaw was in, Busch to third, a 2-run double, and the Cubs had a 2-0 lead. The hits kept coming. Moises Ballesteros, with a single to left past a diving Delorme, drove in another run. It was 3-0 Cubs, and still nobody out in the third. Ballesteros was having a fantastic night, 2 for 2 already. Then Seiya Suzuki hammered a line drive down the left field line, another base hit, bringing in Horner. Ballesteros scampered to third. Suzuki stood on second with a double. The score was now 4-0 Chicago, and the third inning felt like it would never end. At this point, manager Carlos Mendoza had no choice. He walked to the mound. Young Jonah Tong's night was over. He left without retiring a single batter in the third, visibly frustrated, but having learned some tough lessons in a high-pressure environment. In stepped Richard Lovelady, just recalled from AAA Syracuse for his second outing back. Lovelady managed to get the first out, striking out Kelly, but the Cubs weren't done. Pete Crow Armstrong hit a high fly to right. Soto made the catch, but Ballesteros tagged up and scored on the sacrifice fly. The tag was late, and it was 5-0 Chicago. Lovelady did get out of the inning by striking out Swanson, but the damage was done. 5 runs for the Cubs in the third, and the Mets were staring down a significant deficit. The fourth inning brought more misery. Matt Shaw, who had been a thorn in the Mets' side all night, led off with a towering solo home run deep to left center field over the ivy at Wrigley. It was Shaw's 13th homer of the year, a hanging breaking ball that he absolutely crushed. The Cubs' lead stretched to 6-0. It felt like an insurmountable climb for baseball extras Mets. But then, a flicker, a tiny spark of life. Mark Vientos stepped to the plate against Matthew Boyd, who had been absolutely dominant, not allowing a single hit through 4 innings. Vientos ripped the ball to third, right under Shaw's glove, and into left field. Finally, the Mets had their first hit of the game. Vientos aboard with a leadoff single. Then came Brandon Nimmo, who struck out, one away, and up stepped Francisco Alvarez. Alvarez, known for his power, has a knack for turning games around, and turn it around he did. He absolutely launched a deep fly ball to left field, back, back, back. Gone. A towering 2-run home run for Francisco Alvarez, his 11th of the year. The Mets were finally on the board, cutting the Cubs' lead to 6-2. The dugout erupted, a small but significant surge of energy coursing through the team. It was the first sign that this game, despite the early struggles, was far from over. Just as the Mets started to build some momentum, defensive missteps cost them dearly. Clay Holmes came in relief, and Pete Crow Armstrong hit a chopper to third. Vientos backhanded it through to first, but the throw sailed wide of Alonso, a costly error. The ball went into the protective netting, and a run scored, pushing the Cubs' lead to 7-2. Armstrong went all the way to second on the play, but the errors didn't stop there. With Armstrong on second, a wild pitch got past Alvarez, going all the way to the backstop. Armstrong, on the alert, took off for third, then sprinted home. He scored easily. That's 2 runs on defensive miscues. An E5 and a wild pitch essentially handed the Cubs 2 more runs, making it 8-2. These are the kinds of plays that can deflate a team, especially one trying to orchestrate a massive comeback. For Baseball Extra, these moments highlight the importance of fundamental defense. Matthew Boyd's dominance and a familiar face returns 25, 0-0-30, 0-0. Matthew Boyd, on the other side, was having a phenomenal night. He had gone the distance, allowing only 3 hits in the game. He had effectively shut down the Mets' potent offense for most of the night, truly showcasing his veteran skill. His command was excellent, and he consistently kept the Mets off balance. Soto, for instance, was 0 for 3 against him, a testament to Boyd's masterful pitching. Eventually, the Cubs manager came out to the mound, and it was the end of the night for Boyd. He had pitched an excellent game, keeping his team comfortably ahead. Relieving Boyd was Daniel Palencia, reinstated for the Cubs from the 15-day injured list. Palencia came in and immediately showed his stuff, striking out Mark to end the inning. So, going into the bottom of the 6th, the score stood at 8-2, a daunting deficit. But as we know, in baseball, anything can happen. We also saw Clay Holmes and Sean Mania piggybacking each other, a strategy they've employed a couple of times this year. This approach allows managers to maximize the effectiveness of their bullpen arms, giving them extended work while keeping their pitches fresh. The Cubs weren't finished. In the bottom of the 6th, Michael Busch stepped up again, clearly having a career night. He drove one deep to right field, and it had a chance. Gone. A 2-run home run for Michael Busch, his second of the game. The Cubs' lead stretched further, now 10-2. It was a hanging breaking ball that Busch did not miss, showcasing his raw power. It felt like every time the Mets tried to gain an inch, the Cubs pushed them back a mile. Despite the score, the Mets continued to battle. Juan Soto, who had been quiet against Boyd, finally broke through. He launched the ball into deep left center field. Pete Crow Armstrong tracked it back, but it was too far. Gone. A home run for Juan Soto, his 43rd of the year, and it cut the Cubs' lead to 10-3. Soto's incredible power, coupled with his 105 runs batted in, always gives Baseball Extra fans hope. Even with the game seemingly out of reach, Soto's blast was a reminder of the firepower this Mets team possesses. The Mets continued to fight in the later innings, but the early deficit and the Cubs' relentless offense proved too much to overcome. The game eventually came to an end with a ground ball wide of third, picked up by Shaw, who threw to first for the final out. The Chicago Cubs had evened up the series at 1 game apiece, securing a decisive 10-3 victory. While the outcome wasn't what Mets fans hoped for, the spirit of the comeback attempt, especially Alvarez's home run, offered glimpses of what this team is capable of. It's a tough loss, but a critical learning experience in the heat of the MLB playoff race. This game, despite the final score, was a roller coaster of emotions. It reminded us that even when things look bleak, the fight is never truly over until the last out. The Mets showed resilience, and moments like Tyrone Taylor's incredible throw and Alvarez's monster blast are what make baseball extra the ultimate destination for true baseball fans. What were your thoughts on Jonah Tong's outing? How crucial do you think those defensive errors were? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this in-depth analysis and the raw excitement of baseball, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Baseball Extra for more exclusive content, game breakdowns, and all the latest news from around the league. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment of the action. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.